To me, if you're making money, you're going to stay on the team.
Yep.
Where do you want these agents to reach out to you? Do you want to call you on a phone, or do you want...
Call me.
You want to give everybody your number?
954-294-6889. And if I'm awake, I answer my phone. And people have tested it. 1 o'clock in the morning, I've had clients call me. Oh, you really do answer the phone. I'm like, yeah, I was awake.
Welcome to Stop Whining About Real Estate. Join us as we chat, sip, banter, and wine with the best in the biz. Grab a glass of your favorite vino, sit back, relax, and let's wine together. Welcome to Stop Whining About Real Estate. I am your host today, Sarah Birnbaum. My co-host is with me, Emmanuel St. Germain. Woo-hoo. Happy to have you back on the show. And our guest today is a very special guest. She is a rockstar realtor. She is very involved in the local and state level associations. I personally have become friends with her outside of this life of work, and really excited to have you on, Stacy Plean.
Hi.
Hi. And I told you I love blue on you, and it just is so good.
And I love the pink on you.
Thank you.
Stacy looks very Ralph Lauren.
Yeah, and here we go.
Right up my alley.
It's
Sarah.
Here we go.
Good eye.
Is going to meat market after this. And so she's trying to attract,
This is not coming to meat market with me.
All right.
All right,
Stacy. Awesome. So Stacy, we and I have been working together for a couple years on and off. And I want to talk about lots of different things today. So I'd love to talk about our relationship, how we work, the good, the bad, the ugly. No relationship is perfect. And I think this is really a great opportunity where we've kind of come back full circle. And we've got a closing tomorrow that you can talk about. I also want to talk about one of the cool things that you're doing is Zillow Flex. And so I've, defined that. Sarah and I don't know enough about it. So you'll tell us all about that. And then lastly, I want to talk about the Rocket, Redfin, Mr. Cooper, this consolidation of stuff, and how you think your relationship with Zillow, if you think you're going to see a change. But let's just get started with some real basic stuff. Introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, how long you've been in the business, and we'll go from there. Sarah and I will just sit back, relax, and watch your show.
So I got my real estate license in 2004. Went into it, loved it, got my license because I would go to the beach on the weekends and I would want to stop at open houses. And as a lark, my friend said, I don't understand you.
What? A lark?
Lark.
What's a lark?
I guess
lark?
as like just going you're
for kicks and
you're
giggles.
going to see the open house because you want to see the inside of the house, how it's furnished, how big it is, how they decorate, what's going on in those big places.
I thought I was just being nosy.
Okay.
And she said, you should go and you should get your real estate license. You like looking at houses. So I was like, And I did. I went and I got my real estate license. And I went in 2004 and I started real estate. And at the time I was in a completely different industry. And I really liked it and was in it for quite a few years. And then the market back then, the bubble happened. And I was like, okay, can't do this anymore. And they moved on and I went back into the garment center, which is where my roots are. And was in the garment center for quite a few years, sold the business in the garment center, bought a factory in Dominican Republic, sold that, and came back into real estate. So really, since 2015, 2016, I got back into real estate and loved it. Just freaking knew that I should have been doing this from the time I turned 18. Honestly, it's like,
well, you're
where
a
would I be now?
workhorse, though. So
I am a workhorse.
For anybody who doesn't know you, Stacy's a workhorse. She doesn't vacation like Sarah.
I was just going to give you a compliment. I was going to say, coming from you and admiring somebody's work ethic means a lot.
And I was going to say, it takes one to know one.
Because usually he really, it's a high bar to get to his work ethic standard.
Compliment.
Compliment, fine.
Yes.
Thank you.
But anyways,
Thank you.
It was
and I
also,
do appreciate that.
No, and she does. So, all right. So obviously real estate works really well for those who are willing to outwork others too. It's a great profession for that.
It is, but you've got to work.
Right.
You've got to work. It's not like I'm going to open up a door and I'm going to write $1 million contract. It doesn't work like that.
No.
So got into it and decided that the only way to make money is to spend money. And that was always my philosophy. When I had my own business, the only way to make money was to spend money because that was my return on my investment. And so I got involved with buying leads, and I would try several different lead resources. And the one that worked for me was Zillow. So with Zillow, I started back with them in 2015, 2016, and started at $500 a month. And it got to a point where with Zillow, I was spending about $14,000 a month with them. But again, my ROI was great. I had no complaints spending $14,000 a month.
Is there a number? So that brings up a great question. Let's reduce the number to 10 just to make the math really simple. If you spend 10, what's the acceptable number that you want to make in return? Is it 10 plus cost plus whatever you want to make and whatever that is?
So again, having a business and owning a business prior to having this real estate business, when I did my pricing, when I priced out garments, it was always 3 times cost.
Okay.
So it was always, as long as I can go 3X, I'm good. That's really what it was. So if I spent 10 and I made 30, I was good. I'm going to tell you that I a lot of times did 3 plus.
Right.
So to me, it was a win-win.
I think it's important though, and you guys can go on it, but I think a lot of agents or people in general that have never been in business before, they don't know what the return should be. And I think maybe they're going, okay, well, as long as I'm making what I'm spending and a little bit more, then I'm good.
No, it's bad for any business.
No, I understand.
Let me give you a business 101 for anyone listening.
I understand that, but I think a lot of people that decide to go be real estate agents and people are saying, invest in yourself, take the extra classes, learn about things, put money back into your marketing. I would say that most, if you ask them, what is the expectation of what your return is supposed to be that you're comfortable with, most don't have that calculation or at least reason of thinking.
But like Emmanuel just said, it's really business 101.
100%.
And again, I can't take it on a month to month because there
over the
were
year.
months that I spent 10 and I didn't get anything. But when I looked at it
Other
at
months
the
you
year,
spent 10, made 50.
Exactly.
Like, no, of
when I
course.
looked at it at the year, if I spent 10, it's 120. If I wound up with 360, we're good.
Good. Yeah.
Our investments are no different with our people, by the way, Sarah. So we look at it, each branch is the exact same way. We have certain branches that have certain costs, and all of a sudden, so-and-so didn't do as many transactions this month, and they're in the whole $6,000 on their profit and loss. And meanwhile, we're like, yeah, but they're in their slow season where they are, right? Because we're national and we got offices all over the place now. And so but all of a sudden, the next month they do a tremendous amount of business, and all that stuff is cleaned up. So we've always, in our side of the world, it's a lot for us. It's a lot of trust. We have to trust that those branches are going to make right and be able to make profit. And, the advantage that you have as opposed to us in that sense is that it's your own skill set. So like you're using, you're betting on yourself. I'm betting on others, which is a little riskier.
Well, and I've been there, done that. When I had the factory, I relied on everybody showing up for work and sitting and doing their job for the day.
Right.
And if they didn't, or they decided that they were going to go take a holiday because it was a holiday in Dominican Republic and they just didn't show up. Well, guess what? I lost production for the day.
Right.
And I had no control over that.
I know how much you both love control.
It's part of success. So, all right. So Zillow was working really well for you.
Zillow was working great for me. And I had the opportunity to, Zillow came to me and said, we are opening up Zillow Flex. Zillow Flex is instead of paying up front every month, I'm going to pay on the back end. I'm only going to pay them on deals closed.
So no cash out of pocket.
No cash out of pocket.
Less, so 0x, but less on the end.
Exactly. Less on the other end. But again, I don't have to worry, I just spent 10 this month, but I didn't make anything the next month. And then you start going, what's going to happen next month? And because there are certain metrics that Zillow Flex puts on you, again, here comes that I'm going to I'm going to challenge myself to do better than. So it's a perfect scenario for me because I want to do better than they expect.
Still betting on yourself and challenging and competing with yourself.
I'm an overachiever. I am.
Not everybody in here is. I'm just kidding.
He's dissing on me.
I'm taking little jabs. All right. So one of the things, Sarah, that Stacy does that I thought was really it takes a lot of chutzpah. Okay.
She's got it all.
I know, but it was a very unique business model, a business strategy that she did with leads that I had never heard of. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I remember when we've sat down multiple times and talked about business and process and what do I do and what do they do, and your standard real estate course would tell you that you get a lead, you start to like any sales thing that has a lead, you qualify them. Are you paying cash? Are you financing? If you're financing, you got to go give. And so it would be passed off very much. And Stacy took a really unique approach, which is an investment that could go sideways on her time, but would go. I'll let you tell because it's cool. But you're the only person I know that's ever done it that way,
really?
And I see the only one who's ever shared it with me.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that other people don't do it that way, but the only one who's ever kind of said this is my process, and I'm like, oh, this is totally different than what's taught. Like I like it. You're a maverick in that way. So
there's a reason for that, and what I do is I'll get somebody on the phone. And most agents are taught, find out if they're pre-approved. Don't get into a car and take them to see homes if they're not pre-approved. And I found that when I was the consumer, when I didn't have my real estate license, and I called a real estate agent, and they said, well, how are you financing this? And have you gotten pre-approved? And they start asking me questions that I'm not comfortable with. Well, I took that with me. And I said, I don't want to ask somebody who's never met me, how are you financing? Did you get pre-approved? So I decided that I would make the investment of talking to them, getting to know them over the phone. Let's go look at a couple of houses. And once they met me and they worked with me and they saw how passionate I am about what I do and how transparent I am about what I do, then I can have what I think is a kind of personal conversation. It's their finances. Mm-hmm. So then I could say, great, let's go looking at some other houses, but let me ask you a question. Have you spoken to anybody to find out if we're even in the right price range? So it still was not a question of, did you get pre-approved?
You're more so coming at it as a friend, a consultant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can see what I love about it because it's so, it's not the natural.
I'm looking out for you. By the way, while we're doing this, hey, have you thought about this angle as somebody that wants to help them and genuinely involved in the benefit for them instead of the process of.
I will tell you, for me, what I see is that I see in a world of entitlement, people who are not willing to lift a goddamn finger to do anything till they get paid. Oh, you have somebody who's investing in a potential consumer and saying, I'm willing to take a risk. My job, I'm not too good to go show you houses. Come with me. Let me meet you. And then she's using psychology rather than saying, okay, now it's time to get pre-approved. Everything is about so sales is about putting yourself in the other person's shoes.
Let's do this together from the very beginning.
She's taking an empathetic approach that says, are we in the right budget? Yep. That's not for me to tell you. That's going to be for you to tell me back by saying, yes, I'm paying cash, I can afford this, or, well, I've got X amount. Okay, you're going to need to get pre-approved. And then, boom, that's when she says, well, I got a guy for you.
Well, and I'm going to say to you that the best thing that I love, and I'm going to tell you that a lot of my clients love, is when I send that group text, Emmanuel is the CEO. Ooh. I'm telling you, they just think,
did you hear him?
Okay, so it works for both of us because here I am. I have access
to the
CEO.
Right.
Okay.
And they're going, wow, she's
And
really important. And this is so special.
It's such a mind game. It is.
But I mean, it is true.
But you know what I would tell you, that you can use. I have, so like in my role today, my role is just to grow the company. I don't go after any agents. Like I only do business with my previous clients, friends or family, and the agents and partners that we have already. If Sarah says I have an agent great, give it to someone else. Like, so I'm kind of cut off from wanting any other partners, and I rather do business with the people that I know, like, and trust, just like they do back. So from that standpoint, that is something, like I do think it means something that ultimately when you're working with a decision maker, because I use that same approach when I'm a consumer. Like I know there's lots of people that are involved in doing different things, but at the end of the day, like I want to talk to like if I'm going to see a doctor, if I'm going to see or whatever, anything like
Buy a car.
Buying a car. Okay. So prime example, here's the downside with buying a car. The problem with the way that the model works, and I used to sell cars, and what was great about the way that we sold it is it was a non-negotiation. The price is already fixed. So it would be like, so now in that scenario, it's more about me explaining the process, going through our steps in the sales process, but there's no one that you need to go talk to behind me. And if
now
you're going to be
different.
The salesperson is a pawn.
Yeah.
And so my point would be in that case, like, hey, let's I can sit here for 5 hours if you like, or you can go get your manager and we can do this quickly. Now, I don't have the temperament, so I use a broker. I have a broker. I don't go to the dealership. My buddy Joe is who I use, and he literally, I'll get a quote from someone else just to make sure, keep Joe honest. But outside of that, like I pay for the service. He brings the car here. He brings the paperwork here. I don't go anywhere. I don't have to sit there for hours and hours.
That's because you're a workhorse and you can't leave that desk.
It's time. It's not that I can't leave the desk. It's we value our time. I can either make money with my time or I can have enjoyment. Enjoyment can be peace, quiet, partying. I don't care what it is that you want to do, but it's my time.
So I'm going to tell you that the past 2 cars that I've bought, somehow or another, through people I know, people I've met, they'll say to me, oh, you're looking at a BMW? I know the general manager at BMW. I am bypassing the salesman because I can't stand they come back with that green with that paper with the green.
And they're like, well, what if we do this? And they cross it out.
I don't want to deal with it. Just give me the bottom line. If it works for me, it works for me. I'll sign the papers right now.
Yeah.
Right. But it's the same thing when I'm saying, Emmanuel is the CEO, and he can do things that nobody else can do.
He's magic.
And it and it does. It comes back because then the feedback that I get is he was great. He was great. He answered all my questions. He knew all of the answers. He didn't have to say, well, let me go talk to my boss. He was the boss. He is the boss.
But I will say the one downside is for these, which is true. I do get busy. And so I know that on some individuals, some people are extremely needy, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're buying a house. Like, I get it. You should want all your questions answered anytime you have a question. So, like, I don't blame the individuals whatsoever, but that's the downside to still doing loans is that sometimes, I might be in a meeting for 2 hours, and like, I don't think this isn't the stock market. Like, we're not trying to sell us, there's nothing that can't happen in 2 hours once we're in process. But sometimes you need to get involved. There's a transaction right now that I've got going on, 2 really good agents on both sides. And it is, we're trying to find a solution, and I have a solution, and I'm emailing everybody, including the attorneys, and I have to keep writing. I'm not an attorney, but this is my opinion.
Right.
And it's just about what I love about what we do is I love the regular easy transaction, cool, whatever. But it is what it is. We're serving a family, someone's getting a house, they're excited. The challenging ones are the ones that I enjoy, and when I find a solution. But I will say that there's also, it does happen. There are some situations when you just can't do something, and it is really heavy on the shoulders. You know, like we've all had sleepless nights in this industry, and I don't think a lot of people know that. You know, I think that when people are questioning your income, my income, any of that stuff, and they don't realize that it can be extremely stressful.
I don't think that the normal person or the normal person that's gone through a transaction with a not so professional realtor realizes what the difference is when they're using a professional realtor.
Yeah.
And I have that all the time.
I just listened in a podcast, and they were talking about how this year they say 95% of all transactions will be done by 5% of the agents.
I completely
So it's not
so
the
agree
80,
with
forget
that.
the 80-20 rule.
No,
those
it's way
days
less.
are gone. It's 95-5.
Yep.
That's awesome. I love it.
That's the way it should be, though. And I do think that there's a certain amount of professionalism and that you owe to your client. They're they're not buying a car.
Right.
They're buying a home.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's huge.
Some only do it once or twice in their entire lives.
And you know what I love about the buyers? So we're in this South Florida market, most market at the moment is a buyer's market. There's an opportunity for buyers to negotiate. Houses are staying on the market a little bit longer. Here's what I love about buyer's markets. All agents are nicer. In a seller's market, listing agents get their nose up in the air and they get very highty, mighty, toity-tighty, whatever that saying is. They do, because they know that the prize is the house, and they're the only one with the house because there's not enough houses. And right now, that's not the case.
Right.
And so everybody has to come together, and like, we're all professionals. We're all trying to do the same thing. You and I are trying to get our buyers to get accepted, and what's a good deal for you and a good deal for our buyers. And there's a way to win for everybody. And, you know,
But look at where we are now. We are in the buyer's market. We just came out of a heavy
but that's what I'm saying.
seller's
I
market.
like the buyer's
Right.
market.
And look at where those seller listing agents are right now. They thought that they were so hoity-toity, and now they don't have the buyers, and a lot of them are going and waiting tables. I mean,
So let's talk about those buyers, because that's one of the reasons that you have partnered with Zillow and doing the Zillow Flex. It is mostly buyers, correct?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 100% buyers. I will get sellers out of it, but that's because the buyers are buying and they're selling their property. So if they like you and if they're going to stick with you and they're going to buy with you, they're going to ask you to sell their home. That's where the sale comes from. That's where the listing comes from. But it's 100%.
Buyers and for the most stuff.
yeah.
So how does it work? Do you get? Is it based off a zip code? Is it an area? Is it county, city? Like, what prevents Realtor Bob, whose office is right next to yours, getting the exact same Zillow Flex? How do they work it?
So remember that consumers or buyers, one of the places that they're looking at, the predominant place that they're looking at, is they're looking at Zillow. Zillow for a consumer is MLS for a realtor. It really is. That's where they're going. So they're clicking on a property, and Zillow is making it very user-friendly. If you would like to tour this property, click here. Big blue button. They click there, and Zillow has different programs. They have the real-time tours where the person is just saying they want to see this house at 5 o'clock on Tuesday, and the appointment comes through to you. If you're available, you accept the appointment. If not, it moves on to the next agent. You don't even have to speak to the buyer.
Got it.
You make that appointment. Now, obviously, you want to confirm with the buyer that, you know, you're representing them and you're going to take them. And you meet them at the house. And now all of a sudden it becomes another conversation.
So it's teeing you up for a bunch of opportunities.
But do you know? So it's not geography based. You're not.
Well, it is.
It is in the sense that they're not going to ask you to go to Miami,
correct,
to go show a house. So you must have inputted of how far. There's got to be some circumference circle of how many miles you're willing to go.
I put in the zip codes that I was interested in.
Okay.
I put in primary zip codes, and then I put in secondary zip codes, and then I put in zip codes that I would like to open that market in.
And then do they say, as part of their guidelines, do they say, Stacy, we only have 2, 3, 5, 10, agents that we partner with per zip code? Is there a number? Is there a rule or not?
So
really?
with the flex, okay, specifically with the flex, there's zip codes that I'm getting the buyers, but then there's also premier agents, which is what I was doing before the flex,
So
where
one
I was
step
paying
down.
for the zip codes
Okay.
and I was getting those leads. Now, when you were on the Zillow Premier Agent, what Zillow did was they didn't call it 100% of the zip code. They called it 300% of the zip code. So depending upon how much spend you did is what percentage of that 300 that you got. Okay. I always wanted to be in top 3 because the top 3 was showcased. So I always made sure that my ownership of that zip code was at minimum 100%.
Okay.
Because this way I had at least top 3. And that's how I did it. And if it worked for me, it worked for me. Now, I jumped around zip codes because some zip codes were great. Some zip codes weren't. Some zip codes got a lot of, and Zillow knows their algorithms. They're very smart. Okay. They
Done
knew
a few things right, I hear.
Yeah. So they knew how many leads they were getting through that zip code. And sometimes it would be, no matter what I was paying for that zip code, I would only maybe get 2 or maybe not even 1 a month was what they were forecasting.
Right. Do you have, so not to put you on the spot, I should have asked you before, but do you know any of your conversion numbers? Is that something that you look at or not too much?
So from the amount of leads that I get,
Sure.
what I
So, like,
convert?
leads coming in, so like I guess for you, they're not applications. So yours would be a lead. Who's picked up the phone when you call? So I guess it would be like the touches. And then are you using AI? AI is a big topic to communicate.
Using AI. Okay, so I'm going to give you numbers that I know because Zillow Flex is still so new to me. I got it at the beginning of December, and we're just at the beginning of April now. So it's such a new concept for me. But when I was doing Premier Agent, I am very analytical in my numbers. Okay. So I kept track
Cheers to the analytics.
What zip code the lead came in from, what zip code did they end up buying in, how many leads came through that I met, and out of the people that I met, how many did I convert?
Okay.
Because that was huge.
Of course.
Because that was my own personal challenge. If I meet you, I'm going to tell you that 80% of the time you are doing a transaction with me.
That's
which
awesome.
is why she was willing to bet on herself and do a strategy that was unique because she believed in her skill set.
100%. 100%. And that was just where the numbers were. It wasn't anything that I kind of made up. It was like, if I met with you and I took you out to see homes and you really were interested in buying. Now, some people are tire kickers. We know that. Some people I would meet and they want to see one house and that was the end of it.
Can someone buy the industry? So, let's say if Sarah meets somebody at Meat Market tonight, they're a billionaire, okay? And Sarah
She's sending me the referral. That's what Sarah's
Sarah
doing.
decides to become a realtor.
Oh, gosh. Could you imagine?
No. But just, and said, all right, so like what if she had endless amounts of money and said, I want to spend $100,000 a month with Zillow or Realtor.com or
But you have to show up. That's the thing. So, like, I could buy.
Well, obviously, like, that's a given. I'm just talking about what I'm trying to figure out is that you got, like,
Is there
obviously you have to do, can somebody, well, no.
Can somebody monopolize?
Where I'm getting at, which you'll see in a second, is going to be the Rocket Redfin. But the idea was, can someone with money come into Boca? This is a zip code you have? or no?
Yeah, I have Boca, Boynton, Delray.
Okay, so Southern Palm Beach zip codes. Can somebody come in with 100,000, 200,000, just some crazy budget that 99.99% of agents aren't spending, and can they take over? Is money assuming the skill set of being able to do a good job with the leads once you have them?
So let me tell you what I do know. I know that there are agents in certain zip codes throughout Palm Beach County that have gone and bought out the entire 300% of that zip code.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. And they get every lead that comes into Zillow of that zip code. There's no other competition that is going through Zillow into that zip code because there's only one person that has it. Okay. However,
Drum roll.
Zillow is not the only resource that people use.
Got it.
So there's Realtor.com. There's referrals. They go on to, they might type into Google houses in Boca Raton, and they're going to get a Coldwell Banker website or a location website or a Remax website, and they're going to click on that. There's a realtor up by me in Boynton Beach that everybody that I know that buys in the senior communities, the 55 plus communities, he's got the market for Google. They land on his website. But you know what a lot of people tell me? It's a great website. It's very easy to use, but they don't use him. They just get the information from there.
Well, didn't we hear also? So so we can now talk about some of your stuff with the board, but we were on a conference call recently, and they were talking about how that may be going away with NAR and the settlement about the clear cooperation, and whether or not they're going to allow, I forget what it's called, but essentially the idea would be that agents, so the idea would be to remove the ability of agent Bob Jones to be pulling listings into his website if they weren't his listings, and to basically force everything back into MLS only.
So you're talking about the IDX feed?
Yes.
So the IDX,
Thank you.
Good
thing you're here.
Once you input a listing into MLS, and again, you can opt out of that.
So that's what it was. They were talking about the concept of opting out, and the call was like, why would you opt out? What would be the benefit of opting out? Now, at the same token, like, why do we want agents who Bob, his name's not Bob, whoever this agent is that you're talking about, that's great that he's got this amazing website, but if they're not his listings, why do we pretend like he's the one that's doing anything?
So it's not his listings. A lot of them are his listings, but he also has a wealth of information regarding the communities. It's the way his website is set up. So people who are buying in the active adult communities, the 55 plus communities, tend to wind up on his website.
It's a way of getting them there. It's not just the listings. It's information in general, lifestyle stuff. It's all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
So he has a great, so just copy him and go somewhere else.
Well, that's what a lot of people are doing.
I would
and
too.
they will send me, and it's funny because they'll send me screenshots from his website. We saw this house. Can you take us to go see it?
Aw.
Hey, but you know what? That's how it is.
Listen, I'm sure it happens with me too. I put people on subscriptions. They're on my website. I know people are going onto my website. I can tell from my CRM they're on there. I know what they've looked at. I know how many times they've looked at that particular house.
And then they show up at your open house, and
they don't respond to me. They don't answer me. They don't respond to my text messages. They just don't. They're working with another agent who doesn't have an IDX feed probably on their website.
Right.
And they came across mine, and I have an IDX feed, and they can look at everything. They can search, and they can filter. And
how big is your team now? What's the team look like? What's the size of it at the moment?
So I've got 5 people on the team right now.
Okay.
Growing it slowly.
So since it's not costing you anything up front, is there any reason that you can't? So you must have metrics where you need to hit with Zillow, otherwise they lower you down, right? Because you can't just say, give me 1,000 leads.
There's team metrics
Got
and
it.
then there's individual agent metrics. And every other week, I'm having a conversation with the Zillow success coach.
I like
to
that.
go over
Coaching you
who's coaching me
as
and
like
the
a
team,
as a
and the team.
making sure
Okay.
that we're on track.
Love it.
Now,
How
keep
do
in
you
mind,
like the coaching?
I love it. I think it's great. I also use a real estate coach as well, just because of everything that I do between my volunteering and the boards and the state. I need to stay focused and I need to know where I'm going. So for me, it was somebody to keep me accountable because I needed to stay accountable.
Sure.
'Cause I can go down that pit and just
Be stuck.
be stuck.
I've always loved coaching. I think coaching is fantastic. I think it does. There were amazing parts about coaching, and then there are the tough part. What I found is the tough part in my role, not so much as the person, but in my role, is that a lot of what I'm doing, a lot of my projects, a lot of what I want doesn't get done as fast as I want them to. And it's like part of understanding that you need to wait for people to do their job and you have to wait for this project to conclude. And like, it's not a bad thing. It's normal, but like, like, all right, so I've got one project I need done. I need my CFO, Jill, who's an absolute rock star. We love you, Jill. But like, I'm waiting on her. Now, she's waiting on other people too. So it's not like she's sitting around doing nothing, but like we have to reconcile, we have to do all these different things. But the second we get our March financials done, I've got like 5 projects I'm ready to go. So for me, like that's the piece where, okay, now coach, what do you want me to tell you? Like, what are you going to tell me you want me to do? I've got projects. Like I'm ready to go on what those projects are. I know where we're headed and we're going full steam ahead. So what am I going to talk about? Like I used coaching when I was a loan officer and we changed our it was amazing because I didn't know anything. And we changed our entire system and how we do business. And Jared and I like rebuilt the whole thing.
I'm going to tell you that when I started this whole Zillow Flex, listen, I had my way of doing business and it worked for me. Didn't need to do anything much different. I'm going to give you one example. When you're on the Premier Agent app, even as a Premier Agent, or on the Zillow Flex app, you can go into a part of their CRM that says Insights. It's Insights. And you could see what your buyers are looking at, what homes they're looking at, what homes they've favorited, what they've looked at 3 or 4 times. Same thing on my CRM. I see that it's all transparent. But what I always used to do was I used to call up and say, hey, Sarah, I saw that you were looking at 123 Main Street. When do you want to go see it?
Calling it direct.
Right. I'm calling Sarah now. Sarah's been on the website.
Mm-hmm.
When I was on with my Zillow success manager, okay, he said to me, don't do that. He said, just send Sarah the property as if you don't know that she looked at it. And say, hey, Sarah, I just found this great property for you. When would you like to go see it? So now Sarah thinks that I am.
This is my little like puppeteering thing.
Okay, but how awesome is it? So when I tell you that there's things that I'm still learning and that I really like about it, it's the little nuggets. It's not a big nugget. It's a little nugget, but it makes all the difference
changes things
in the world to how it's happening.
It's all, but what I love, it's the same thing with scripting and using certain verbiage.
Oh, I hate scripting.
We were so you do and you don't.
Sounds
we all
so
do.
scripted.
No,
Yeah.
but that's not what I mean by scripting. Scripting simply means having. So when you hear what I just said, you think about reading a script. That's not at all what I meant. When I say scripting in my head, it's the same line that you use that you said earlier about, is this the right budget? Are we in the right budget or whatever it is? That is a scripted line for you. It's something that you've trained yourself. So one of the ones that I teach is do you love the loan officer that you're working with? To say to an agent. And I specifically want the word love inserted in there because it's a really hard word for people to say yes when you have a professional relationship with someone. So if they say, wow, I've got somebody, Sarah, you got an in, right?
I like
if they
that.
say,
I think I might use that with, do you love
do you have
the agent that you've worked with before?
Yeah.
Same
I love
thing.
that.
See, scripting. But yes, it's not so bad. But but yes, in same concept, and if they say, yes, I love the loan officer I work with. Hey, fantastic. What's his name? I want that guy or that girl on my team.
Right.
Right. And I'm not losing here. I'm going to get something. I either want to recruit the person or there's an opportunity. But I feel like there's a lot of different words that we can say. And, we talk about, I sent an email and Sarah was noticing it yesterday. And one of the words that we use for a lot of people is family served, right? If you say transactions, what does transactions sound like?
Terrible.
Cold.
Harsh.
Right? If we were a hospital, how many surgeries did we perform? How many lives did we save? Right? And how many, just all of it, you can just tweak the verbiage a smidge and it sounds so much better. And that impression to the other person, and this is why I go like this, it's a smidge of manipulation, but I love this conversation, by the way. Manipulation is not a bad thing. People think manipulating is, if I manipulate someone to do wrong, that's different. Obviously, that's not at all what I'm talking about. But manipulating is pretty much just.
We need to find a different word for it.
I know, because nobody likes that word, but it's not.
Stacy has a conversation with somebody on the phone. She gets them to meet
orchestrating an
her.
outcome that is in the best interest of all parties.
But she's getting them to meet her. She's getting them to build a little rapport and trust with her. And then she's kind of directing them into the direction where she wants them to go. That could be considered manipulation, but she's not doing it in a negative way. She's doing it to help them to move the process along.
Massaging, that was the word I heard.
I like massaging.
Instead of manipulating,
you have to be careful when you use the word massaging.
I know, but that's what, I can't use the word massaging. You see, I massaged her on that one. Like, that's not going to go well for me.
You can't. I can use it. You cannot.
Yeah,
you can use it.
Yeah, I won't be using the word massage.
No.
But there's no word that, all right. At the end of the day,
While I'm sitting at Meat Market, I'll think about it.
At the end of the day, we all say sales is really problem solving.
1,000%.
That's all it is. The buyer who is going on to Zillow, has a problem. The problem that they are looking for help to fill is they are looking for a home. They want to buy a home. They want to rent a home. They're looking for a new living arrangement, whatever that is. So you are there to help, and you do so in so many different ways. But at the end of the day, you're solving a problem. We do the exact same thing. That person can't pay cash. I'm solving a problem. I'm providing financing. And now within all of that are all the other games and everything else that goes on. But it's not manipulating. It's just the same way as, I look at guidelines and I know, all right, well, this is the guy, and I have to be careful because my underwriting team is part of my company.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm like, well, I don't want her seeing that because that's not good. So we're going to need to do this and do that. And, there's, but that's the name of the game.
You massage the numbers.
You massage it.
Well, what does a CPA do?
Massage it. Everybody does.
They massage it. We're all a bunch of masseuse out here. Then I guess.
Yes, we are.
We're living in a
Better
masseuse
than
world.
manipulating the numbers, right?
for
that
sure.
sounds so.
Well, we're not doing anything wrong. I don't mean it that way.
Right.
No. I know you're not doing anything wrong, but you're working the numbers. You're massaging.
We're making it work for people. We're I don't know. Compliance is going to go nuts over this episode. All right. But what do you? Sorry, go ahead.
No. So I was going to say, but there's also, aside from Zillow, I use other lead resources. So there's the Google leads. There's all kinds of lead resources that I pay for that are not as warm as a Zillow lead. They have to be worked. But again, there's so much that comes out of that as well, because now I'm taking everything that I've learned through Zillow and working with all of those leads. And these are basically cold calling. Yes, they're coming into a website. Yes, they're expressing interest in something. But how do I get them to want to work with me when I can guarantee you they're on a million other websites and they're getting a million calls from realtors? Their phones are blowing up.
And how much of that is automated? How much of that, like I watched a presentation, I think it was called Ylopo or something, was doing like, where it's like AI is the one like calling and setting up the entire appointment. And a lot of the industry is going to that. I don't think I've ever had a robo call.
You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
So I want to tell you something.
I
want to tell you something.
You absolutely wouldn't know.
You honestly think I wouldn't know.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to show you some of the conversations that Alex.
No, a text I get. So texting I think is totally feasible. The voice and the speed. I'm going to test you. I'm going to speak a little faster. I saw
the Ylopo.
It's cool, but it's
incredible.
It's almost there.
The problem is, and I'm going to tell you it from the tech standpoint because I've gotten some people to comment to me on it. I spoke to Alex and he was great, except I don't know how many times I had to tell him that I wasn't looking for a house with a pool. And he kept asking me, so does the house with a pool, is that something you would like? So, of course, I can't make somebody think that they're talking to a robot because then they're going to be like mortified that they actually
but don't you have to announce? You don't have to announce it?
No. So I say, well, Alex is new on the team. And
he was just being very thorough.
Yeah, I think that he was just really so excited that, he was trying to help you. What else am I supposed to say?
Right.
And then and I use the name Alex because Alex could be a guy and Alex could be a girl.
Yeah.
Well done. I see what you did there.
See what I did there.
Masseuse you. But so I wonder, is Alex in the dating online stuff?
Are you scared?
I'm not.
I would be scared.
I'd go straight for the FaceTime. Let's go. I need to see you're real.
Well, what do they
Alex
have that?
You can do FaceTime bots now, like human bots that are on FaceTime and Zooms.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like
these aren't humans if they're bots. You can't say they're humans and bots.
But you don't know because via video on a FaceTime or a Zoom call or a Teams, they look like a real person.
And what's wrong with your phone that you can't tell what somebody is?
I'm gonna show you.
There's no way you can put somebody on a TV in front of me, and I think they're real.
Okay.
The porn industry would be on fire if that was the case.
I think it is.
No, but you think about it, like any industry, there's no way that you can. I'm not saying it's not good. But like I've seen some of these AI presentations, and there's no way.
Okay.
I'm not buying it.
All right.
I'm not buying it. All right. So, Stace, back to Zillow. I want to find out real quick. Rocket recently purchased yesterday, or they announced they purchased Mr. Cooper, who's one of the largest servicers. So the play there is obviously, and then they just bought Redfin, which is a competitor of Realtor and Zillow. They're really building an and then they've got Rocket Money, which is where they're trying to get people to tie their bank accounts, and so they know all of that. There's all sorts of companies that are doing
Rocket
predictive. You do Rocket Money?
I do.
See, they got Sarah. She's in the hooks.
Well, because I used to be Mint, which was QuickBooks version for personal use, where it you sync everything and it helps you budget and you plan a thing and it connect.
These guys are the ultimate masseuse, by the way.
Okay, well,
they're masseusing the whole thing.
Well, right, but so Mint is no longer. I guess they were bought out by Rocket, maybe.
So all of it. So QuickBooks.
Right.
So QuickBooks is all of it. So Quicken
right.
is owned by Dan Gilbert, who owns it used to be Quicken Mortgage. It's now Rocket Mortgage.
Okay, so QuickBooks was the business version.
Yeah.
Mint
Right.
was the personal version because I've worked in companies where I had to work with QuickBooks. I had Mint for my personal use. Mint was no longer. Then it rolled me into Rocket.
It's okay. You don't have to defend yourself. It's okay. It's okay, Sarah. No, but in general, what I'm saying is like they've built an entire ecosystem where people aren't going to have to leave that ecosystem. Now, I don't know. We can hypothesize what they really want to do with that ecosystem, but Zillow, who is your partner, they also have a Zillow mortgage.
Yep.
And what do you think?
And they have Zillow title.
They have Zillow
do.
title,
They have
okay.
Zillow Home Loans, Zillow Title. They now have
Zillow Insurance, I'm assuming soon, if not.
I'm assuming it's going to be soon.
What do you think of the industry as a whole that's happening there? If 5% of the agents are doing 95% of the business, are the 5% of the agents going to be partnered with one of these ecosystems and that's it?
I'm going to give you my opinion, and it's my opinion only. I don't want to be in that circle. I don't. I like that I have partners that are not part of that circle.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost too
much.
Stepford Wifey. Like,
Mm.
I
Like
want
pink jackets.
it's
See what
not
I did
the
there?
pink jacket. I thought he was going somewhere else there. I've had your back.
It was
with
so
the pink jacket.
good that she went straight for the
He does this. Stace, I'm
You
so
got
used
me.
to this. This is all day. I knew the second
Not
he
all
said
day
the
at all.
I knew where he was going.
So for me,
I'm the same way, by the way. It's just like restaurants.
Right.
I rather deal local. I rather support small entrepreneurs than the big chain. It doesn't mean that some chains I don't use. Obviously, we all do. But
Well, I just think there's so much of a hold over you as an agent because everything is being controlled from one spot.
but that's what I don't want.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
That's
it's
what I
not
don't
a benefit.
want.
Some may say, "Oh, this is really easy. Everything is right here," and then others might go, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! That's too much in one spot for me."
And I also think that when it comes to mortgages, and I'm referring my clients to mortgage companies, I am not only going to give them one, I'm going to tell them, this is my preference. This is who I think would be best, fit your personality great. I don't ever want to give them only one and then come back to me and say, well, you gave me them and that was the only one that you gave me and look at what you did.
Right.
she's referring to Zillow Mortgage, of course.
I didn't say that.
Your voice has gotten very deep all of a sudden, Stacy. So, all right.
So, and it's the same thing. I appreciate that it's all wrapped up into one little box with a bow tie to use if you choose to do so. But to me, it doesn't give me enough flexibility and maneuverability.
So I actually think we do have our own ecosystem, but here's the difference of what our ecosystem versus theirs. Ours is an ecosystem that's built on accountability, not on shared profit. So our accountability ecosystem says that your title partner, myself as you're a lender in this case, and yourself, if I don't do a good job, you don't send more deals, you don't send more buyers, vice versa. If the title company keeps dropping the ball, now you're generous enough that you'll allow us to make a mistake, but if we make multiple mistakes and if the client experience is doesn't go over very well, relationship has to end. And that is the kind of ecosystem that I like because it is a system. It's just based on accountability. So we always have to step up our game. We can't just get complacent, which is what I think you're going to see in the Rocket ecosystem, because what they're going to do, since they're a public company, right, and since you're trying to get your share price up, you're going to cut costs by using the cheapest labor possible for all the services, and the services will suffer. Now, I think
what is the client experience going to be?
Terrible.
Well, they're good. So,
but it won't matter because it'll be a numbers game.
It's a numbers game, but it's also they're going to go. They're really I will say this. I listened to their CEO give a talk. I was in Scottsdale, Arizona, at the Gathering, Housing Wire thing, and he is a really bright guy. He's a tech person though, and so I think the techies, what they're working on is less of the human interaction within real estate, and more about making the whole process really simple, streamlined. And I do think there's an audience for that.
I do. I think there's also a big audience for a human touch and wanting to have a relationship or know the person that they're working with, trust that person, go see a couple houses before you get pre-approved, lean on that person for direction, advice, consulting, walk them through the process.
So I'm not sure that I know that much about the structure of this deal, but let's say I'm with Redfin, and now I'm all tied into this. I keep putting it the box. What if I don't want to give the mortgage to Rocket?
So, I mean, again, I don't work for Rocket or Redfin either, so I don't know what the incentives are and what they're not. There are laws. And there's steering, and there's all sorts of things. There's all sorts of things that they have to be careful with, but I'm sure there's a workaround, and they've got much fancier attorneys than the ones the ChatGPT attorney that we use. I was just kidding, but they obviously have a lot more money and invest in these things. So I'm sure they're going to find a way, and when they do make a mistake, they can certainly afford to pay the fine as well.
And I will say this, I would try it. If I was a Redfin agent, for example, I would try it, just like with Zillow. They've asked me to try ZHL.
Zillow Home Loans.
Zillow Home Loans.
Yeah. Where is Zillow Home Loans?
They're all over. They're all over. They're not.
So it's an individual.
What I'm finding out is that the Zillow loan officers, I believe, don't quote me on this, I think this is what I'm figuring out, they're not working solely for Zillow. Okay. I think that just like I don't work for Zillow. I'm not.
But you do work off the leads that Zillow sends you in addition to other leads that you get elsewhere.
Correct. And I think that's the same thing. I think that they have ZHL managers or loan or team managers that manage a few people that might. And the only reason why I say that is because one of the ZHL loan officers that I was working with happened to have come across my desk as the loan officer for USAA.
And you thought, wait a minute.
Wait, it's the same guy.
Interesting.
Well, USAA is also a service center. So these are all service centers, which for me is like a whole different ballgame. It's what I didn't like about Rocket. It's what I don't like about any of those organizations, because it's not it takes away the accountability piece. When you are in a service center, it is a numbers game. If you don't do a good job,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Someone else is hitting that button next. And so for us,
that's my whole thing. I want to give the
you
client
like the accountability
experience
right.
that is always going to be top notch. And if during, and you and I have had this situation, if during the process somebody says, I'm not thrilled with the mortgage company that you're giving me, I'll turn them over to you. And that's happened. And I've said to you, they were working with this other company. It wasn't working out. I know that we're kind of short on time right now. Is this something that you can do?
Right.
And Emmanuel is magic.
No, but it happens to, listen, it's
but
not.
Again, that's
I'm on the other side of that.
I get it.
It's a personality issue sometimes as well. People have different personalities. They have different personality needs. Some people need more of a push. Some people do not like to be pushed. I've got an agent friend of mine who's in Delray, and he's got one particular agent, loan officer, he would refer to if the person had for a lack of better word, a New York mentality where like they were going to be fast and they were ready to be talked to directly and sternly and given direction. And then he goes, everybody else, this did not like that person. So like if you're dealing with the Midwest, they've got a different mindset.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Northeast is a little bit different.
And that's part of knowing who your client is.
Right.
And knowing the right fit for your client.
Agreed.
Same thing with, I'll call you and I'll say to you, listen, they're like in their 70s.
Slow it down.
They're going to have to come in with their stack of files because they don't have a scanner. Worry about even know what a scanner is.
Right. We don't want them scanning anything.
Okay. So, and you're like,
they may not be allowed to close to machinery like that.
But there's different needs for different clients.
But I think that's the important part of the way our ecosystem works is that you can have that conversation and you can call him and let him know that that's what's going on. And then, if things are going great, it's a great conversation. If things need a little tweaking, you can also get on the phone with him and say, hey, listen, here's what I'm hearing. I need you to.
That's the beauty of being in control, which you are.
Right.
So let's, as we wrap up here, talk about what's a perfect candidate for, well, first of all, before I even say that, are you even looking to add any agents to your team?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always looking to add. I want to do it slowly.
Okay.
Because I don't want to dilute the leads that are coming into the agents that are with me now.
Mm-hmm.
So as I put more agents on, Zillow will send me more leads, but it's a little bit of a lag because they have to get that person. We have to get them onboarded, and Zillow has to be made aware of it, and it has to go through the process. So there's a little bit of a lag in it, and I don't want to dilute what the agents who are currently with me getting.
Of course.
So,
what's a perfect agent look like in order to be on your team right now?
She wears a pink jacket.
It's a she, okay.
I'm on my way.
Or he.
No, I know it's a joke.
Wears a red jacket.
But what's some of the skill sets that you're looking for in an agent? If there's an agent that's out there that's listening to us.
I like new agents. I like mentoring. I don't want to say mold, but I like to develop. Thank you so much.
Massaging.
No, we're not massaging them.
I like to develop an agent into be the best they can be.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that I'm the best. I'm not saying that I haven't got a lot more to learn still. But I want to take that agent and make them as professional as I can. So I don't mind the new agent as long as that new agent is got an open mind and is willing to learn and doesn't come in thinking that they know everything, because that just doesn't work for me. And then, of course, I like the agent who has done some business, but just doesn't quite have the income from real estate yet to go and spend the money on the leads. So here I am providing you a source for those leads. And then I've got the real experienced agents who are on my team that don't need any hand-holding. I probably speak to them once a week. They know I'm available. I'll check in with them. I'm not going to micromanage. That's not who I am.
Let them do their thing.
Let them do their thing. And
Awesome.
I want everybody to make money. To me, if you're making money, you're going to stay on the team.
Yep.
Where do you want these agents to reach out to you? Do you want to call you on a phone, or do you want?
Call me.
You want to give everybody your number?
954-294-6889. And if I'm awake, I answer my phone. And people have tested it. 1:00 in the morning, I've had clients call me. Oh, you really do answer the phone? I'm like, yeah, I was awake. Oh my God.
We'll put all the contact information in the show notes. Stacy, you are a gem. Thank you so much for being on. Absolutely amazing to see you as always.
It's great. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Thanks, Stace. Okay, that's enough whining for one day. We are so happy that you could join us today on Stop Whining About Real Estate. So please, not only listen, but subscribe, follow us, download, share, and if you're feeling it, give us a 5-star review. Hey, and if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email stopwhining@choicemortgage.com. Thanks so much.